Aye, aye.
Brain damage. An issue that affects more than 50 million people worldwide every single year. Now, what does this have to do with the hit 2011 first-person puzzle platformer Portal 2?
Brain damage, brain damage, brain damage, brain damage, brain damage, brain damage, brain damage. Very minor case of serious brain damage.
Okay. It's implied pretty heavily throughout the campaign that the player character, Chell, has serious brain damage. Now, Portal 2 is a really smart game. It doesn't make mistakes. Which is why it's so weird that Chell having brain damage is brought up so much. Especially because the Portal community has been fed scraps when it comes to background information on the main character of the entire franchise. Nearly 15 years of theorizing just to come up with this. Chell is adopted? Maybe she's fat? Maybe she's the child of an Aperture employee? Now, AussieFlaw made a great video about Chell's character that I'm sure most of you have seen, but they don't touch much on the brain damage portion of Chell's character. For good reason, probably, but we don't listen to reason here at bongomatic. I'm hoping that by answering this extraordinarily important question, we can gain a better insight into Chell as a character. So ladies, gentlemen, everybody in between, put on your lab coats, because it's about time we diagnose somebody with brain damage. A traumatic brain injury, or TBI, refers to a brain injury that is caused by an outside force, which may lead to the death of numerous brain cells and may impact neural or cognitive functions. Thanks, Wikipedia. So, brain injuries result from trauma to the brain. Sure, that tracks. But does it fit with what we see in Portal 2? Well, to answer that, I'm gonna need to take you back to the past. I think the best way to go about tackling a question like this is to analyze the first Portal for any moments where Chell could have sustained potential lasting brain trauma, which could carry over to Portal 2. Now, we're gonna get to Portal 2 eventually, bear with me here, but as far as head trauma in Portal 1 goes, I couldn't find anything. I mean, sure, Chell could have potentially sustained a bullet wound to the head from one of the turrets in Chamber 16. She could have potentially crushed her head on one of those OSHA-violating giant piston things in the out-of-bounds portion of the game. Or she could have injured her head in that large explosion at the end of the game. But these events can change on a playthrough-by-playthrough basis. Chell isn't always shot or crushed on every playthrough of the game, so it's just not consistent. But what if Chell is brain damaged at the start of Portal 1? Chell's brain damaged state isn't mentioned by anybody until Portal 2, and I feel like when GLaDOS starts losing her at the end of Portal 1, she probably would have said something about that. Also, we catch a quick glimpse at Chell's files in the Lab Rat comic, and I feel like they would have mentioned the brain damage if it was present at the time. Okay, nothing in Portal 1 suggesting that Chell is brain damaged. What about what Wheatley says in Portal 2?
Most test subjects do experience some cognitive deterioration after a few months in suspension. Now, you've been under for quite a lot longer, and it's not out of the question that you might have a very minor case of serious brain damage.
Okay, Wheatley mentions your comatose state as the potential reason for your brain damage. But the thing is, Wheatley is an idiot. Brain damage usually isn't caused by being in a comatose state, but it usually exacerbates or worsens the effect of a pre-existing brain injury. Which means that Chell must have sustained some kind of substantial trauma to the head before Portal 2, but after Portal 1. Either that, or Wheatley was completely wrong about his brain damage diagnosis. I mean, maybe Chell's inability to speak could be a sign of her having brain damage, but the writer of Portal 2 confirmed it was just because she thinks the robots are d***s. God damn it. Guys, I'm sorry. I thought this would be like a funny video idea. Maybe I'm just in over my head here. It's just, there's gotta be something that happens in Portal 1 that gives Chell brain damage. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, now that I think about it, all the human characters in Portal seem a little, for lack of a better word, brain damaged. I mean, Ratman's a schizophrenic, Cave Johnson's Cave Johnson, and Chell? I mean, there must be something in the water, in the air, in the walls, anything.
Conversion gel. The bean counters told me we literally could not afford to buy $7 worth of moon rocks, much less 70 million. Bought them anyway, ground them up, mixed them into a gel. And guess what? Ground up moon rocks are pure poison. I am deathly ill. Still, it turns out they're a great portal conductor. So now, we're going to see if jumping in and out of these new portals can somehow leach the lunar poison out of a man's bloodstream. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Oh my god. The walls are made out of moon rocks. Moon rocks! Cave Johnson confirms that the conversion gel seen in the latter half of Portal 2 is made of ground up moon rocks. And every single portalable surface is made of pure moon rock paste. Lunar rocks are known, well, we don't really know what's up with them, but they can lead to worsening cognitive function and brain damage. In layman's terms, lunar rocks equals brain damage. And moon rocks are everywhere in Portal 2. The walls, the ceilings, the floors. Every single human character in Portal is breathing in pure poison at nearly every moment. Cave Johnson, Chell, Doug Ratman, Carolyn. That's it for human characters in Portal, but still, this explains so much weird shit in the games. Why is Portal 1 a dark comedy while Portal 2 is a cartoonish slapstick game? Well, it's because Chell has brain damage. Why does GLaDOS' design inexplicably change in between games? Well, it's because Chell has brain damage. How is the lunar module still on the moon after like 9 million years? Well, it's because Chell has brain damage. Why does Doug Ratman have schizophrenia? Doug Ratman has brain damage. Why is GLaDOS so immature? GLaDOS is Carolyn, who has brain damage from the poison lunar rocks literally sprawled across the walls. Funnily enough, Wheatley, the character designed to be brainless, doesn't have brain damage. Wheatley doesn't have a brain that can be damaged. Neither can any of these guys. The funniest part of all of this is that all the really horrible ideas that Cave Johnson came up with was after he started huffing moon rocks, making the walls out of lunar rocks. Brain damage. Putting Carolyn into GLaDOS. Brain damage. Well, that's it, but still. It's a weird domino effect. Cave Johnson snorts lunar dust, gets brain damage, and kicks off the entire Portal series. And also the Half-Life series, kind of. This isn't even like a stupid theory, this is a fact. Like a confirmed fact in the canon that the walls are made of conversion gel, which are made of lunar rocks, which are poisonous and cause brain damage. This, like, I feel like I don't even need to be making any jokes here. This is funny enough as is. All of this is 100% canon, by the way. Everybody has brain damage. Kids, don't huff lunar rocks, or this will happen to you. This has been bongomatic. I've been bongomatic, and you've been watching bongomatic.